Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Rancho Mirage City Council for Thursday, February 6th. The council will also be sitting as the Library Board, Housing Authority Board, the Redevelopment Successor Agency, and the Joint Powers Financial Authority. So I'd like to begin with the flag salute led by Councilmember Dana Hobart.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Dana. And Cindy, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Hines?
Present.
Councilmember Hobart? Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich? Councilmember Weil? Here. And Mayor Kite?
Here. And we're going to begin today with a couple of presentations, and the first one is going to be with Queen Scheherazade and her court. You lovely ladies would like to come forward, and I know that February 14th to the 23rd is the Date Festival. Haven't missed a Date Festival for 50 years, you know. I've eaten more corn dogs, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about the fair, and it's all yours.
We'd love to, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is McKenna McIntyre, and I'm Queen Scheherazade. I'm currently a senior here at La Quinta High School, and I'm involved in the International Baccalaureate program, as well as I'm ASB Vice President. And outside of school, I'm very involved in my church and a National Charity League, which is a mother-daughter organization. And in the future, I plan to attend a 4-year private university where I'll major in psychology in hopes of becoming a family and marriage counselor. So now I would like to introduce you to Princess Danyazad.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cristobal Ramirez, and I am this year's Princess Danyazad. I am a senior at Coachella Valley High School, where I'm heavily involved in multiple clubs, and I'm also the senior class president as well as the varsity cheer captain. This fall, I plan to attend a 4-year university and major in computer science. And now I'd like to introduce to you Princess Jasmine.
Hello, my name's Lindsay Klein. I am currently a student at College of the Desert. I graduated from La Quinta High School in 2012. While I was at La Quinta High School, I created the La Quinta High School Fashion Club through the College Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. I plan to transfer next fall to Cal Poly Pomona and major in apparel manufacturing and production. With this degree, I want to promote ethical and sustainable fashion internationally. So now I'll turn it back over to Queen Scheherazade.
So this year marks the 68th Annual Riverside County Fair and National Date Festival, and it'll run from February 14th to the 23rd, and the gates will open every morning at 10 a.m. and close at 10 p.m. And there's so many things for the whole family to enjoy at the Date Festival, from the amazing food like the turkey legs and the corn on the cobs and the funnel cakes, and of course the dates, to the amazing rides for all ages. It's sure to be a great time, and we hope to see you all there. The fair also has special events like monster truck rallies and ostrich and camel races, which are unique to our fair. So now, Princess Danyazad would like to tell you a little bit about the entertainment that the fair is going to have for you this year.
For the past 68 years, the Riverside County Fair and National Date Festival has had some of the best entertainment. And this year we have an exciting lineup, including headliners such as Daughtry, Los Tucanes de Tijuana, Gary Sinise and the Lieutenant Dan Band, Kool and the Gang, Fight for Fighting, and Super Fiesta. During the midweek, fair attendees can also go back in time and enjoy tributes to Waylon Jennings and Buddy Holly. Now, Princess Jasmine will tell you a little bit about our fair promotions.
Starting on Friday, February 14th, the opening day of the fair, the first 5 hours will be free for everyone to attend. Monday, February 17th is Veterans Appreciation Day and President's Day, where we'll be celebrating with a parade. Tuesday is Canada Day, so all Canadian residents will receive free entry into the fair with proof of residency. Wednesday is Kids Day, so with every purchased adult ticket, one child will be able to enter the fair for free. Thursday is O'Reilly Day, so with proof of purchase from an O'Reilly store, you'll be able to go to the fair for $5. And Friday is Fancy $5 Fridays, where everyone will be able to attend the fair for only $5, courtesy of Fantasy Springs. So now I'll turn it back over to Queen Scheherazade to wrap things up.
We would just like to thank you again for letting us all come and give you this presentation this afternoon, and now extend to you the opportunity to ask any questions or make any additional comments that you might have about the fair.
Okay, well, we appreciate you being here today. What's your favorite fast food there at the festival?
Ooh, I think mine's the funnel cakes.
Deep fried Twinkies?
That's it.
Deep fried Twinkies, favorite. And how about your favorite ride there?
What ride do you guys like? I've always loved, since I was little, the swings.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a little kid ride, but I just have done it on my entire life, so it's one of my favorites.
The Ferris wheel. I'm not a roller coaster person.
You prefer camels to elephants? Which one to ride?
Camels, of course.
Of course, huh? Well, it's great having you here. Any questions of the Queen and her court?
No, I do not have any questions, but I do want to make a comment that in one of the most enjoyable days I've had was actually riding on the monster car with the big wheels. And if you've never experienced a thrill of this type, certainly this is the best and the safest way to try it. You'd swear that you were on a big track and all the thrills that go with it. And I was thrilled that you were able to provide such a ride for people to try. The funnel cakes are great, too.
Any questions down this way? No? Well, those dates again, February
14th to the 23rd.
February 14th to the 23rd, and the parade is on Monday the 17th?
Yes.
And what time does the parade start?
At 9 a.m.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming here today and hope you have a great, fun festival, and thanks again.
Thank you. And we just have a few things that we'll pass out to you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have the free tickets also? Thank you. No free tickets. Yeah, I have one. Thank you. Okay.
All's fair in love and war.
Thank you for coming. Okay, at this time, I'd like to have John Hicks come forward. John is the project manager for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. John, it's nice to see you today for your regular visit.
Thank you again for having me. Mayor, members of council, good afternoon. I didn't realize you guys had a 10 megabyte cap on your internet ability to receive files. So the photographs I sent this afternoon, I was in a meeting, my apologies, exceeded your memory cap of 10 megabytes. But I'll get some photos over to you guys later this afternoon, members of council. Just to let you know what's going on, I think, thank you for the guests that arrived this morning, members of council that came in to walk the property. You're always welcome, as always. And just to let you know where we're at with the project. Most of about 98% of the public space finishes have been completed. We're actually installing the last sections of carpeting down Wing A and Wing C, which is our last two guest wings in the main hotel. Just talked to the carpet installers, and they will be completed by Wednesday of next week. The ballroom carpet just arrived as I was coming down the hill. That was some carpet that was damaged during the 5-year dormancy period on the project. That just arrived, so they'll get started on the final section of ballroom carpet latter part of this coming week. As far as guest rooms, we have actually completed 166 of the 240 guest rooms, which are currently being furnished as we speak. And once they're finished, we will have 166 guest rooms turned over to Ritz-Carlton. Followed up by the balance of the rooms to get us to 244. We are actually punching out the finished details, a couple of pieces of stone, and just doing some tidy up details that will occur in the next couple of weeks on the main guest rooms themselves. Fountains we had one last fountain that is being completed under our loggia. The 3-meal kitchen, probably for those of you who haven't been up in the last week, saw the most progress where we actually obtained approval from the health department. That's always a major milestone for a project of this type, where we had 22 comments. Ritz-Carlton was cleared for stocking and training, so that was a tremendous milestone for the Ritz-Carlton. February 11th, the Rebecca, our health department inspector, has already pre-scheduled February 11th for us to obtain our final health department approval. And what that signifies is we can actually open the restaurant to the public. So I anticipate with only 22 comments, we will be in a position to where, as soon as I retain my certificate of occupancy, we're ready to open up for the public. This morning, we actually have been pre-testing the fire alarm in anticipation for Riverside County Fire to come out and start inspecting alarm final, hopefully the latter part of this coming week. By February 20th, I hope we're completed with our alarm, where then I get to come in and start asking members of building department for my certificate of occupancy. And we'll see what the city has for a list for us to obtain that. Other than that, we have completed 90% of the landscape on property. We decided to incorporate a stamped integrated color concrete in place of the decomposed granite that was specified. So we got rid of all the granite that was designed in the project originally. It's a little bit nicer material for what we're trying to achieve. Finished signage is scheduled to arrive the week after next, where we will actually start hanging artwork in majority of the public spaces. And our final signage will go in, room numbering and wayfinding throughout the property. The spa, we have completed all the paint. We are currently doing finished plumbing fixtures. It needs a serious cleaning up for those of you who were there this morning. We'll start the deep cleaning, the first initial deep cleaning for construction clean on the spa, middle of next week. And we set our carpet squares, which is really the last floor finish to be set. We have some vinyl tile that's set back a house, but that'll actually progress a little further along. So by the end of next week, we should have complete floor finishes in the spa building. Lighting trim is going in currently, and we are getting ready to hang 2 pretty sizable chandeliers, and that'll signify the completion of light trim once we get these last couple of chandeliers hung in the spa. So we're down to cleaning and a few minor finishes. Our fitness equipment is actually scheduled to arrive Valentine's Day. So we'll get that installed through a third-party vendor, and it'll take them about a week to actually program all the equipment, integrate it into the building technology system. And with that, we'll start training. Ritz-Carlton staff will move into the spa. Spa suites, we are wrapping up the exterior finishes. From an interior standpoint, we'll have the first level 100% complete. Level 2, level 2 and level 3 will look like it's going to lag by a few days. That is a for sale product, so we always put it in the back burner since it only impacts our ability to sell individual condo units. And like I said, I welcome any of you to come up at any time at this point. You no longer see barren desert in a lot of locations. We have finished materials in, ground covers in there growing, and our events lawn has been set. It's a synthetic turf, so everything is green or red or yellow or appropriate colors as opposed to natural desert. With that, I welcome any questions anybody might have.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any questions, Scott?
Just one. Hey, John, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Just 2 quick questions. I know, and they're follow-ups really from the last meeting. Landscaping plan along Frank Sinatra, what's our status?
Yes, I just, the landscape architect, as I stated, is a pretty significant amount of work to try and complete the plans. The landscape architect actually provided me with 2 sets of a concept that I just dropped off to Planning Department.
Oh, okay.
From what I understand, they'll be in, the person who's going to review that will be in tomorrow. And hopefully we get some good news on that.
Great. So once that's approved, then the stop work is lifted, obviously, on our end.
Hopefully they'll approve tomorrow and I can remobilize the crew.
How long do you think it will take to complete that project?
6 weeks.
Okay, great. And then the other thing, we talked last time about that debris field
Yes.
over there. And I'm just, I get it. It's a construction site, so I'm...
Probably the largest challenge is that it's increased by a significant amount. That is actually, we have a series of dump trucks that'll be arriving on site this coming week to remove the excess rock, soil, and concrete that had to be removed. So we'll start hauling that out next week.
Got it. And just to make sure that we're communicating, I just want to hand you a picture so that I'm talking about the same thing that you're talking about.
I'm sure we're talking about the lower pad behind the construction trailers. Yes.
Okay, great.
Well aware of it. Yep.
So, and I would assume from planning, whoever is here, that would be a condition of the certificate of occupancy to have debris fields cleaned up? Yes. Okay, great, awesome. Okay, great.
Just another condition.
Well, yeah, and the dump trucks are
Not an
coming,
issue.
So,
I think I got about 10 conditions that we're aware of, so that'll make it number 11.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ted?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment that, as John knows, that was our comment this morning when we toured the property.
Correct.
We talked about the debris off to the, I guess as you approach the front of the building off to the right-hand side and down there. Some of it looked like building materials, but there was an awful lot of debris, and you were satisfied us with your answers, John, that
Thank you.
the dump trucks would be coming and that would be cleaned out. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
Iris, did you have a comment?
Yes, welcome,
Question?
John. Thank you for all your information, of course. Could you give us a little bit information about how
Iris,
much,
could you pull up your mic a little
about
bit?
how many staff members and how many workers you have up there on a daily basis, and how many days a week they are now working?
Currently, we're running no less than 12-hour days, up to 14-hour days, depending on the trade group that's in there. Matter of fact, my wallpaper crew is probably one of the largest crews, and they work about 18 hours a day, from what I understand, to complete the hotel. We average about 270 in construction workers alone, plus 43 members of the Ritz-Carlton staff. So if you go collectively, including myself, we're a little over 300 on property, 320 to 340. Ritz-Carlton is in a process of turning over. Director of Security is running through and back-checking documentation to see if there's any additional cameras will have to be added. And so we're going through and working those kinks out right now.
And the workers are coming in 6 days a week?
6 days a week. Some work 7. A majority of them work 6 days a week currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dana, you have
No,
any
I'm
questions,
fine.
comments? Thanks, John. We
Wonderful.
appreciate you coming down and look forward to the next few weeks as you finish up everything and we get closer to the opening.
As always, it's a pleasure. Take
Okay,
care.
thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, and this is non-agenda public comments. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any item that is not currently on the agenda, if you would please come forward and state your name and address. And John, it's nice to see you.
Good afternoon, members of the council and staff. The last thing my wife reminded me
John,
of
could we have your name
before-
and address, please, officially for the records?
Rancho Mirage, Murata Estates, next door neighbor to the Ritz.
Okay, thank you.
The last thing my wife reminded me of before getting up, she said, "Remember, be nice." And I reminded her that I am always nice. Seems I'm experiencing a little deja vu. I think I've been here before more than once on this very same subject. I do have a couple of questions and observations. I heard the report that Mr. Hicks provided with one glaring absence, and that was a firm commitment to an opening date. Did I miss that to my poor hearing? Has there been a change in the opening date, or is that set in stone? Does anybody know?
The date that the contractor's always been working on is March 1.
Say again, I'm sorry.
March 1.
March 1.
That's the official date that the hotel should be turned over to the Ritz.
Because I literally live on the site, perhaps Mr. Hines doesn't know that, but we can't help but experience what's going on across the common boundary. What we see and what we hear is diametrically opposed because we are there every day. We talk to the contractors, we talk to the workers on occasion when we come in contact with them, and in response to direct questions, the typical answer is, we have no idea when we're going to be finished. One contractor said, we're 3 months behind. I look at, as recent as this morning, and I still see heavy construction going on site when they should be opened in 18 days, 18 working days. And I'm wondering, how is this going to happen? And all I hope to accomplish here is to get some accurate, factual truth as to really what's going on, and not just an in-progress report that seems to go on indefinitely. Additionally, because of our vantage point, we see the accumulation of excess building materials and debris that has been gathering for months with no relief. Every time the subject is brought up, the report is, well, we're working on it, we're going to get it next week. It's got to be cleaned up. It's got to be. And what I would like to ask the council for is an official, a public declaration as to what is required at this point before a certificate of occupancy can be issued. And I think that should be circulated to those who have a real concern. We all want the same thing. We want that hotel opened as quickly as possible because first impressions are lasting impressions. The impressions that people get when they drive up that hill now and they see the deplorable condition of the landscaping leaves a bad impression. It will never meet the Ritz final inspection unless there is a superhuman effort to really dress that place up. And I'm hoping that this council will hold the developer, hold their feet to the fire, make them accountable, make them responsible, and make sure that they give you accurate, honest information. And I thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move on to City Council and board member comments. And I'll start to my right with Councilman Hines.
Great, thanks. Randy, I'm wondering, I think a great point was just made there from the microphone, so I'm wondering maybe at the end of council comments if you could just chime in very briefly and give us sort of a sense of what types of things are required for certificates of occupancy, just so we have and the public has a little bit better of a understanding of how that symbiosis works between the city and a developer. So if you could think about that. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but given your years of experience, it shouldn't be a hard one. So, and just in general terms, or as specific as you can be. I would just like to remind everyone that there's a very important event happening this weekend. That is the Steve Chase Gala and Awards, which is the crowning event for the Desert AIDS Project. Unfortunately, the infection rates of HIV and AIDS continue to rise, and alarmingly, particularly in our senior citizen demographic. So it's very obviously important to us here in the desert. And so if you are able, I'm sure there are always tickets left. Come out to the Steve Chase on Saturday night and lend your voice and lend your financial support to what is really one of the most incredible and well-run HIV/AIDS organizations in the world, right here in our desert. So I hope to see you there. It's always a lot of fun as well, and there's always great silent auction bids, but just come out and show your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted?
One of the pleasures I've had since I've been on the council is being associated with the Coachella Valley Mountain Conservancy. My background is real estate development, and I appreciate the fact that not only can property be developed, but there also are areas that should be preserved and conserved. And I've had the chance to view a good portion of them, both in the mountains as well as the valley floors. The Conservancy has been in existence since '91. They also maintain a number of the hiking trails. Matter of fact, one of them is right behind City Hall, going up behind beautiful Murata development. The Bump and Grind Trail is one of our most popular. The Friends of the Desert have an outpost off of 74 where you can pick up maps to go around to all these areas, tour them. I've been up 74 on what's called the Dunn Trail, and the vistas are absolutely magnificent. I would encourage anyone to go there, and you can pick up the maps, as I say, for nothing. The Conservancy is an excellent example of local communities, state, federal agencies, elected officials, nonprofit organizations, and business and environmental interests working together. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Washington could work that way? I mean, we wouldn't have the quagmire we have in Washington if all of these entities, as an example, would forward their blueprint to Washington. There have been 65,000 acres that the Conservancy has been able to preserve. And it's not only here, but as I said, not only in the mountains, but on the desert floor. The valley is a special place to live. And we, as a city, take an active role in preserving the environment. And we want to make certain that our view corridors are always protected. And we were fortunate to be able to use redevelopment funds when they were available to remove all of the overhead lines and put the utilities underground, further preserving the views for our resident. I feel very fortunate to be a part of the Conservancy. I am on the board of the Conservancy representing the city, and all it does is enhance the value and the reason that we all live in Rancho Mirage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Iris? Dana?
A friend of mine and person known by a good number of you perhaps wanted me to relate the granny scam to which she fell victim. I never really thought people gave in to the types of scams that we see on the internet and which we receive over the telephone. She received a call that she thought was from her grandson, crying and screaming and very unhappy. Then an adult came on and gave her a story about the boy having been put in jail, needing bail money. And to make a long story short, she didn't ask any of the questions that should have been asked, such as, let me speak to my grandson, or describe him for me, or anything else that you might think about the child on a personal basis. She didn't. She did what they said. She went to Walmart and bought 5 different $1,000 cards. I guess you pay $25 or $40 per card. And then part of the scam was that she had to get those cards to somebody somehow in the mail or otherwise. At any rate, she ended up being bilked out of $5,000. It was only after she had sent the money, totally panicked about the welfare of her grandson, that she then thought to call his house where he lives with his mother. And he was absolutely normal and no problem. And she realized quickly that she had been scammed. So this is just a note to remind us all that when you get these kinds of weird calls or weird communications via the internet, just assume they're all fraudulent. And if you make that assumption, you can't get in trouble. But most of them are. But just a reminder that people you know, smart people, committed people, dedicated people, are still falling for these scams. And it's quite a tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Iris, did you have a comment?
If I might elaborate on that just a little bit, because a lot of us know this particular person, and it is heartbreaking. And the system is so highly tuned that anybody can get sucked into it, especially if they're a concerned grandmother. And what the caller does is start out by saying, if he hears an elderly voice, "Grandma, is that you?" And of course, the grandmother says, "Yes, is that you, so-and-so?" And they say, "Yes, Grandma," and then they elaborate on their story. Very often, if it is another adult who answers, who calls, they will say, "We have, your grandson or granddaughter or whatever it is," and then explain the situation. But the fact that this system is so well worked out that these people will tell you exactly how to go about getting money to them. And they'll tell you where to go and where in your area would have these cards or how to wire the money. And as I say, it's very easily, it tugs at your heartstrings when you think it's your grandchild that is in a desperate situation. So it's something for us all to be very attuned to because it's very, very common, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call on our city manager, Randy Binder, for a few comments. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to the request by Dr. Bianchi on the certificate of occupancy for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, we've had a long working relationship with the Murata homeowners and the Kamsang Development Company to get this project to the end, and I think we all see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's our goal. The city inspections, Public Works Department, Planning Department, Building Department, Health Department from the county, the Fire Department, all of the inspections will occur. They'll be comprehensive and thorough inspections, but they will not be inspections that are subject to neighborhood committee. These will be, the project will be completed per the city codes that are in effect. That is what the employees are paid to inspect for, and the project plans were approved by the city council years ago. Those approved plans are the plans that are used for the inspections, and that's what the project will look like when it's done, and that's our job to make sure of that. Trash and debris, of course, that has to be cleaned up, and it will be cleaned up to the satisfaction of the inspectors.
Okay, thank you. Just brief comment on an item that, or an event that occurred yesterday. The 10th Annual Commercial Real Estate Investors Forum was held yesterday at the Agua Caliente Casino Resort and Spa here in Rancho Mirage. Over 600 Southern California developers, investment bankers, realtors, and government leaders attended the event. As the city host sponsor, Rancho Mirage was provided a number of excellent opportunities to share our development ideas and with the top business leaders of the Valley. Kurt Watts and his development services team did an outstanding job setting up the displays, creating print ads, and a program brochure, producing a film that opened the symposium, and ensuring that the right development leaders joined us for the event. Council members Ted Weil and Mayor Pro Tem Ira Smotrich, as well as City Manager Randy Binder, helped host the group that included representatives from Quorum Realty Funds, the Hami Company, Lazar Family Trust, CCP Real Estate Advisors, Paragon Commercial Group, and Retail Lease Properties. Also, reassuring demand, the low cost of money, and forecasts that our regional population is expected to double in the next 25 years has developers once again focused on our valley. Rancho Mirage could benefit tremendously from the confluence of these factors. I'd like to take 3 minutes here and show you the film that was produced by our marketing department for this symposium.
Paradise. Yes, indeed, paradise. Yes. Where are you today? 350 days of sunshine, 8 months with an average of 81 degrees, balmy, star-filled nights. Come along, the fun has just begun. Nestled up against Mount San Jacinto to the west and the Santa Rosa Mountains to the east, the Palm Springs Valley spreads its lush oasis like a magic carpet through 9 cities. Close to 450,000 residents call the valley home. Experts predict that the valley's population will double in the next 25 years. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yet there are some places that are so sublime. It was here that the Eisenhower Medical Center and the Betty Ford Center were established by major 20th century leaders. Right in the heart of this valley is Rancho Mirage, the address of choice for resort living by business executives and famous personalities for decades. It was here in Rancho Mirage that the country club lifestyle was conceived. Our resort properties attract sophisticated visitors to Rancho Mirage, driving the $1 billion per annum Coachella Valley hospitality industry. Rancho Mirage, ideally positioned for new commercial development, central location within the Coachella Valley. Agua Caliente Casino Resort Spa set the stage for development on the north side of town. Here's the bullseye for development. Here's the future. Here's where you can play among the stars. Paradise. Yes, indeed, paradise.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm sure you'll all agree that the video really told the story of Rancho Mirage, and our marketing team that put it together, headed up by Kurt Watts and Robert Barrett, did an outstanding job of not only putting together the video, but also the whole program. And this morning, a busload of symposium attendees enjoyed a tour of our city to see and learn more about the numerous vacant and ready for development parcels. The tour was organized by our Development Services Department and led by Kurt Watts and Sean Smith. So, Kurt, you have any comments on the outstanding job you guys did over the last couple of days?
Well, thank you very much. I'll just mention very briefly that, as you mentioned this morning, we did do a tour of the city, in this case with 5 of the very highly motivated investors and real estate representatives who attended yesterday's symposium. That was in addition to the groups that you mentioned that joined us in our special seating area and had a chance to interact with the 3 council members who were in attendance. So I think all in all, we received very strong positive feedback from everyone who was involved with it. I placed at your dais today a copy of the brochure, which was one of the items that we specifically prepared for this event, and it was also featured in the program guide that went out to all of the attendees and those invited to attend the program. This product, as well as the video, will be repurposed throughout the year that we can put on our website, send out as follow-up items to the attendee list that we will have access to as having been a city sponsor. So my personal thanks to those who were in attendance. I'd also like to mention the staff members. You've mentioned Robert and Sean already, but also Michael Schlange was a great support in terms of the backup, as well as members of our Public Works Department who helped do all the setup and the teardown of the 4 basic spots that we had as a result of being a city host sponsor during the event. People kept saying, boy, you guys are really on top of it. I've seen you everywhere, and we had very good feedback from everyone.
Well, congratulations, Kurt. You and your staff did an outstanding job, and I'm sure the city of Rancho Mirage will benefit from this work that we've been doing and into the future as we see more and more development start to come back into the area. So at this time, we're done with council comments, and I'd like to have a motion to accept the minutes from January 16th.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. And the consent calendar contains items that are routine in nature and may be approved by one blanket motion upon unanimous consent. So are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent calendar?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like item 5 to be pulled.
Item 5.
I think that's it.
Yes, it's number 5.
Okay, any others?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to have one of the items pulled for further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move on to the presentation of the consent calendar by our city manager, Randy Binder. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We missed a couple of items for my presentation, if I could just go back to those for a second.
Okay.
We had a rash of copper wire thefts in Rancho Mirage around the intersection of Highway 111 and Rancho Las Palmas Drive by the river a couple weeks ago, last week I guess it was. And the city's police department SET team, special enforcement team, staked out the area, and they actually caught the copper thieves red-handed behind Rancho Las Palmas last Sunday night at 3 a.m. So thank you very much, Lieutenant Shields. Good work on that. I'd also like to mention, Mr. Mayor, that we are saddened by the passing of Robbie Robertson. He passed away on January 22nd of this year. He served for many years as a member of the city's Housing Commission and 10 years on the city's Citizen on Patrol program. He and his wife Marjorie received a proclamation from the mayor in April of 2009 for meritorious service to the city of Rancho Mirage. So I'd like to, on behalf of the city of Rancho Mirage, our thoughts and remembrances go out to the Robertson family. On to the consent calendar, item number 5. Councilman, a while you pulled that item, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so item number 1 is to waive full reading of all ordinances pursuant to the agenda. Item number 2 is the monthly treasurer's report. The finance director and I reviewed this with the city's budget subcommittee consisting of Mayor Kite and Councilman Hobart last month. The yields on the city's investments meet or exceed the average return on the 1-year and 5-year Treasury securities. Item number 3 on the consent calendar is the annual review of the Statement of Investment Policy. The Budget Subcommittee met with staff on January 23rd. There are no substantial changes proposed, and as a reminder, we do implement best practices for the investment policy, and we are using PFM, our investment advisor. Item number 4 on your consent calendar is a resolution to seek CMAQ federal grant funds. CMAQ stands for the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality, in the amount of $1,077,000. This will pay for several miles of sand fencing on the north side of Ramon Road, the west side of Bob Hope Drive, and the north side of Dinah Shore Drive. The grant would also pay to add a westbound lane on Ramon Road, on the north side of Ramon Road, and a southbound right turn pocket on Bob Hope Drive north of Ramon. The city's share of this project would be 11.47%, $139,000. So for an investment of $139,000, we would receive over $1 million in federal grant money. Our share would come from the city's general fund capital projects account, which has already been budgeted for this work. And Bruce, public works staff will know, I think, by early summer whether or not this grant's been awarded to the city of Rancho Mirage. Item number 5 has been pulled for discussion. Item number 6 is award of contract for the recycling and trash enclosures at the Ocotillo Drive Apartments. We've worked with the Magnesia Falls Homeowners Association and Mayor Kite on this project for a number of months, and we finally have this contract ready for City Council approval. And item number 7 on your consent calendar is an item on Medicare benefits. This would, City Council would adopt a resolution to conduct a Medicare division election that would allow employees hired prior to March 31st, 1986 to contribute to the Medicare system. We have 3 employees that would benefit from this request. The employee would pay 1.45% of their salary. The city would match that, and then these employees would be eligible for Medicare after retirement. These benefits will result in a small increase in the city's benefit costs for those 3 employees. Number 8 on your consent calendar are contracts and purchase orders, and number 9 are demands. We're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions on those items? Okay, can I have a motion to
Move approval of the consent agenda except for item number 5.
I'll second it.
Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0, and we'll now go back and look at item number 5, which is the consideration of a modified City of Rancho Mirage Golf Club program agreement with the Westin. Ted, you have a question on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I merely wanted to comment. Some time ago, Councilman Hobart and myself completed a negotiation on the contract for the Rancho Mirage City Golf Club. And since that time, the Westin has indicated, although the probability is very small, that in the event that they should sell one of the golf courses, namely the Gary Player course, that they would have the right to modify the agreement. And so we modified the agreement, and we said, all right, if that golf course is sold, the new owner would have the obligation to continue the contract using the remaining course, or in the event of a cancellation, our members would have the right to be prorated on any payments that were made. Additionally, we would have the right, of course, to substitute the one course with additional courses. So we felt that the flexibility that would be inherent in this change was important. Our members still have the benefit of having a one-day advance reservation over anybody else as far as the courses are concerned. And we felt that it was important to have this modification signed now because the person that we negotiated with, Ross Meredith, is moving back to Canada, and we didn't want to start, frankly, negotiating with a new person at the Westin. So this has been completed. We're satisfied with the modification, and we feel that our members are protected and pleased, and this has become a very valuable amenity to our city. And so, Mr. Mayor, I merely wanted to clarify and let everyone know the reason for it.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Iris, did you have a comment on this item?
Yes, I think that all along, when negotiations and when this issue was originally brought up of transferring our golf program to the Westin Hotel, I expressed a great concern that we were doing our golf club members possible injustice by subjecting them to increases as the years went by. I have a lot of concerns when it comes to options. I think that as long as the possibility of this golf course being sold is maybe just a possibility and might happen in the near future or in the distant future, I think perhaps we should talk about whether or not giving an option or dealing with that issue when it comes to pass or when we are presented with it might be another way to go. Because I do not, as far as my experience, options are always one-sided. And it's one side that always benefits more than the other. So this is not something that I would really be in favor of as far as an option.
Okay.
I think the word option probably is somewhat misleading in this case. When you say option, generally an option means to exercise a right. Well, in truth and fact, yes, there might be an exercise of a right. But we're talking about the Westin having the right to cancel a program if and when a course is sold. And likewise, we have the option of discontinuing the program and injecting other courses. Our members have everything to gain and virtually nothing to lose in the event that a course is sold. They are frankly delighted to have even one course remaining because it's so convenient and accessible to them. So frankly, I personally consider it a non-issue, and the word option I think is more more terminology than a straight definition in a contractual sense.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have item number 5. Can I have a motion, please, to accept item number 5?
I'd make a motion to accept the modification of the agreement.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 4-4, 1 against. Madam Clerk, would you like to do roll call on this?
That's correct.
Okay, Councilmember Hines voted aye. Councilmember Weil voted aye. Mayor
Aye.
Kite voted aye. Councilmember Hobart voted aye. And Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich voted no.
Correct.
I should just like to note that the reason why it's being done this way is because of the new law that took effect January 1st. It requires basically roll call votes, but because we have electronic voting, it's appropriate in cases like this. You could just announce that the vote was 4-1 with Councilmember Iris Smotrich voting no.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, thank you, Ted. All right, the consent agenda has been completed. We'll now move on to the first action item for the day, which is item number 10 on your agenda packet. And this is the Whitewater Park expansion and amphitheater project. And Bruce Harry, our Director of Public Works, will handle this issue. Bruce?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The design consultant has been working long hours over the last 60 days to complete the project plans and specifications in order to meet a planned advertising bid date of February 7th. Since that time, the design consultant has been addressing the city's plan check comments, and staff has been communicating with the design consultant on a daily basis to answer plan check questions and finalize all the remaining project details, such as building colors, concrete pavers, structural steel colors, plumbing, lighting fixtures, and landscape plant materials. At a meeting on the 29th of this month, which is earlier this week, it was determined that a complete set of project plans and specifications will not be ready for advertising on February 7th. Staff estimates that the project plans will be completed probably by the end of this month due to the fact that some of the structural plans had not been completed in time to get a second plan check review to the city for final review and approval. Staff conducted a study session this morning with the City Council to review the project estimate of probable cost, the project funding sources to pay for the project, possible bid alternatives, possible changes in the plans to reduce the overall project cost, project delivery options, and some other items that we discussed with regards to relocating trees and purchase of advanced selection of large tree specimens. The two subjects that we discussed in detail with the City Council were, of course, the estimate of the project, the most current estimate, and the project delivery schedule. Staff reviewed the latest estimate of probable cost for the project, and we discussed options with the City Council on how we could possibly reduce that cost. We also discussed the project delivery schedule. There were 3 options that were discussed on how to deliver the project, and staff got the direction we feel from the City Council at the study session in order for the Council to give us some direction today. Staff is looking for the City Council to provide approve an approved construction budget, provide staff with direction on the bid alternatives that we want to place into the bid documents when we do go out to bid, and to provide staff direction on a project delivery schedule, which I mentioned there were 3 deliveries that we looked at with the Council, and we think we have agreed on one delivery schedule. Mr. Mayor, I can go through more details if you want, but those are basically the 3 things that we'd be looking for direction from the Council today.
Bruce, would you just give a little bit more overview on each one of the proposals that you're submitting?
Sure. On the project delivery?
Yes.
Okay, the first option that we discussed with the Council on delivering this project was to complete the plans, complete plans and ready to go to bid, which we feel we can get done by the end of this month, the first week of March at the latest. Immediately bid the project and bring that project back to the Council with bids for award. The city would then proceed with construction, which would take approximately 10 months, and we would be looking at moving the 2014 Art Affair to a different venue. We discussed several locations, but we are going to go ahead and identify other locations, discuss that with the Parks and Recreation Commission, and bring a recommendation back to the City Council. The second alternative was to finalize the plans and shelve them for probably the next 3 to 4 months, bid the project in October of this year, have the Art Affair at the Whitewater Park as we normally would, and start construction next January for 10 months and have it ready for the 2015 Art Affair. And the last option was to go ahead and complete the plans, go to bid, and try to have the Art Affair around the construction project, which we feel is not a very good idea because the project will be in heavy construction at the time, or possibly even cancel the Art Affair, which we did not suggest doing. So at the study session, we pretty much centered around completing the plans, getting the project built as quickly as possible, and looking for another venue to have the 2014 Art Affair. And we will be coming back to the Council with a recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Commission on where we could have that event in 2014.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Is there any questions or comments from Council before we vote on this issue? Okay, you're looking for some motions to approve this, and Dana? Yes, okay, I'm sorry. Go to the audience, and if there's anybody in the audience who has a question on this item? Okay, seeing none. Dana, would you like to make a motion, please?
I would move that the council approve a final construction budget of $4,231,837 to be funded from a combination of Quimby fees, development impact fees, and the license tax fund. This figure includes the reduction in cost to the children's playground shade structure. I might add parenthetically, however, without any reduction of shade, actually. The reduction of the second monument sign, and the addition of the pickleball courts, Button Drive and San Jacinto Drive Parkway landscaping, and a construction management fee.
Okay, there's a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. One item to recognize on this particular motion is that no funds are going to be taken out of the reserve funds of the city based on this existing proposal. So looking forward to keeping all the money coming out of special funds that are targeted for this kind of construction. So would everybody please vote? And the motion carries 5-0. And we have a second motion. Scott?
You want me to make the second or the third?
Please, second.
Okay.
Or Iris, did you have the second motion, please?
Yes. I would move that the City Council approve the following, and that we add as bid alternates to the project bid documents and replacement of the existing park furniture and a misting system for the children's playground area.
Okay, may I have a second, please? Second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. And moving on to the third motion, Scott?
Thank you. I'll make a motion that the City Council direct staff to complete the project plans and specifications and bid the project as soon as possible, and investigate alternative locations to hold the 2014 Art Affair. Discuss those alternatives with the Parks and Recreation Commission at their next meeting, and present the Parks and Recreation Commission's recommendations to the City Council for review.
Thank you. There is a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. And Bruce, we want to compliment you on all the hard work you and your staff have done, and I think we got a lot accomplished
Absolutely.
at today's meeting.
And I'd like to thank the consultant, too. They've really worked long hours. I've been meeting with them, and we've been switching emails back and forth in the middle of the night, so thank you.
Okay, now we can get to work, or at least start getting there. All right, let's move on to item number 11, which is the approval of the contract for the collection, transportation, disposal of municipal solid waste. And Randy, are you going to take care of this?
Yes, Mayor, I will. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you, Mayor.
thank you.
You bet. Mayor, City Council, the item before you, as Mayor just discussed, it's a 6-year contract between the City of Rancho Mirage and Burtech Waste and Recycling Services. We're asking the City Council to approve this contract and the resolution so that we'll have uninterrupted service to the residents and businesses for their waste and recycling services. A little bit of background on this contract. The current contract that we're in right now started in 2007, and that was also a 6-year contract. Started 2007, and it was scheduled to end June 30th, 2013. We were right in the middle of negotiation, and the City Council approved that we could do a month-to-month extension, and we've been doing that the last few months. The last extension will end February 28th, the end of this month, and so the new contract would start the next day, March 1st. The new contract is actually based on the current contract. We asked the City Attorney Office to review the current contract to make sure it was a solid contract that we could use as a foundation, and they did give us their blessings on that. So the last few months we've been working on basically updating the contract, cleaning up some issues, basically just some housekeeping issues, but there were three key items that stand out above the others that I wanted to just bring to your attention today. The first of the three is reporting. Reporting, it's always been in the contract, but now that we have a new California law, it's AB 341, that's mandatory commercial recycling. That also includes a requirement for the city to report every year what our numbers are, basically, what our recycling numbers are. And so while reporting has always been important, now it's at a level that's critical, because we rely on BERTEC to report back those figures so that we can report to the state. And BERTEC is in agreement. The negotiations with this was amicable. We did include some provisions just in case the reporting did not come to us accurately and timely. There are some provisions as far as penalties, but hopefully we won't have to look at that. So, second of the three items is commercial recycling and a rate increase for businesses. Another part of AB 341 is the state has a statewide goal of 75% recycling by the year 2020. It's not a mandate, it's just a goal, but we incorporated into the contract a way that we could get closer to that number. Right now, we're fairly close. Actually, our recycling numbers are about 67, 68% diversion rate, so we're not that far off. And so the new contract will have goals that BERTEC will work with businesses, as well as the city will be working with businesses to actually increase those numbers. And the contract is structured in such a way that these goals, if the state does come up with some future legislation that mandates that we need to reach that 75% as a requirement, those goals then turn into a requirement for BERTEC to fulfill, and BERTEC is on board with all that. Now, with that, there is an increase of costs with BERTEC, and so there would need to be a rate increase for the commercial accounts. That would take effect July 1st, and the increase would be on the recycling services. And right now, the way that the recycling services are measured, they're 25%. Cost is 25% of the solid waste fee. So that will go up to 50% of the solid waste fee, which is still a very good deal. I mean, that means whatever the businesses divert to recycling, it costs them half the cost that it would be for the solid waste. So there's still a tremendous incentive for the businesses to recycle. So that, as I mentioned, that will kick in July 1st. And then the last of the three items is residential recycling, and then there will be a rate increase for the residents as well. BERTEC, through the negotiations, BERTEC agreed to hire a recycling coordinator that will actually help with all of these programs that we have, and so they will hire the recycling coordinator. Now, the rates to basically cover this will be, for the residents, will be 79 cents per month per household. And the current rates for households is $16.93 per month. So the new rates would be $17.72 plus any CPI adjustments. Excuse me. And so the last time rates were increases back in 2011. So nobody likes an increase, but it's not too bad. We try to, and through the negotiations, we try to keep it as low as possible. Now that rate will actually not go up until 2018. It's an estimated 2018, and the reason for that is with the current contract, there was a reconciliation done with the costs that BERTEC had for their disposal costs compared to what the ratepayers paid for that disposal cost. And so everything was based on estimates in advance, and so BERTEC tried to get those estimates as close as possible, but with the contract, it was called to have a reconciliation to true everything up, and at the end of that reconciliation, there was just a little under $500,000 that the ratepayers actually paid too much. So to get that money back to the ratepayers, BERTEC has agreed to cover the cost of the recycling coordinator and any expenses, any of the salary and expenses for the recycling coordinator until that fund has been depleted, and that's estimated mid-2018. So the residents won't see that rate increase until then. So those are actually the three key things that we added to the agreement. The rate increases, according to Proposition 218, the rate increases will require the city to send out a mailer to all the ratepayers, actually all the property owners, and so the staff will be coming back to the city council probably in March to get approval from city council to send out these mailers. Probably in April, that'll give us enough time to receive back any information from the ratepayers before the July 1st rates take effect. And so that's our recommendation, is to approve the contract and the resolution. And before I pass it back, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to some of the key players who are involved with the negotiations. From Burtec, we have in the audience actually Frank Orlett is a district manager of Burtec. Mike Vito, the director of municipal services with Burtec. Cities consultants with economics, William O'Toole. And his attorney's not here, Serene St. John. Our field consultant, Gary Calhoun with Evergreen Recycling. City staff, Britt Wilson, Bruce Harry, Mr. Binder. Then our city attorney office, Robert Lee, put a lot of hours into this. Then, of course, our budget subcommittee and actually our sustainability subcommittee helped kick this off back in April. So thank you to everybody, and I think we have a very, very solid contract. It's one that's good for the city, one that's good for Burtec, and most importantly, good for the residents and businesses. So thank you.
Thank you, Randy. You did an excellent job on this, and Dana and I have been involved with you for the last few months on going through the details on this, and we really think we've got a good contract put together. We want to thank the representatives of Burtec, who spent many hours working with us and getting this program right. It's amazing the strides we have been able to make so far in recycling. As Randy said, we're at 65, 66%, with a target 70% or higher. But most of this has been on a voluntary basis. We've had e-waste drives, we've had shredding, we've certainly had great participation from the restaurants, and just generally recycling. So we want to thank all the residents of Rancho Mirage because they're really cooperating with the program, and it just makes everything better for the city, and eventually the state will catch up with us. So, I think this really turned out to be a win-win for everybody, I think, and certainly when we get the new consultant on board, we'll even be able to do more in the future. So, any questions or comments on this item?
No.
Anybody in the audience like to speak on this item? Frank, you or Mike, would you like to say anything? Okay.
Mayor, I'd just like to say I'm just so pleased with the services that's provided by Burtec. It's really consistent, solid. We were kind of commenting about that the other night, and just appreciate, particularly given some of the history in the city, what a great professional job that you do. And thank you for being a company that we can count on.
Okay, with that, if I could have a motion, please.
Okay, I will move that the City Council approve the attached agreement and resolution number 2014, which awards the contract for the collection, transportation, and disposal of municipal solid waste and the collection and recycling of recyclable materials, yard waste, food scraps, and construction and demolition debris between the City of Rancho Mirage and Burtec Waste and Recycling Services, LLC, for a period of 6 years effective March 1st, 2014 through February 29, 2020.
Second.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to item number 12, which is for the successor agency. and it's to adopt a resolution authorizing investments of monies in the local agency investment fund. And Randy, who's going to handle this?
Our Finance Director, Isaiah Hagerman, will. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Isaiah.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the resolution before you today would allow successor agency monies to be deposited into a separate LAIF account solely for the successor agency. The background on this item is prior to the dissolution of the redevelopment agency, the RDA maintained a separate LAIF account from that of the city's operating LAIF account. Staff received a letter from the state treasurer identifying the procedures that we had to follow to repurpose this old RDA LAIF account for use of the successor agency. The approval of the attached resolution would allow the California State Treasurer to repurpose this old RDA LAIF account into the name of the successor agency and for use by the successor agency. It also identifies the authorized users on this successor agency LAIF account, which would be the city manager and myself. Staff believes this is the best option for the successor agency due to the timing of its tax increment distributions from the ROP schedule. They only give us money 6 months in advance of when the obligations are due, so the money has to stay liquid. So there's real no opportunity for any other investing. LAIF would allow us to still yield some interest, but yet keep the money in a liquid form. And in addition to that, staff believes that this will also provide an extra layer of segregation of successor agency assets from those of non-successor agency assets. With that, staff is available for questions.
Thank you, Isaiah. Any questions or comments from council? Is there anybody in the audience who has a question on this item? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that the City Council of the City of Rancho Mirage, acting as the successor agency to the former Rancho Mirage Redevelopment Agency, approve the attached resolution authorizing investments of monies in the local agency investment fund.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to item number 13, which we will be sitting as the City Council, the Library Board, the Housing Authority Board, the Successor Agency, and the Community Service District and Joint Powers Financing Authority. We're going to adopt a resolution adopting the purchase procedures policy and introduce an ordinance repealing chapters 2.14 purchasing system of the municipal code. And City Manager, you got this one?
I'd like to make a couple of comments and then turn it over to Isaiah, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So the Budget Subcommittee on this project, Mayor Kite and Councilman Hobart, I want to thank them for working with myself and the City Attorney's Office and the Finance Director over probably what is 18 months working on this comprehensive procurement policy. And with the guidance and recommendations from the Budget Subcommittee, we met with the department heads and other key staff members to review the purchasing procedures that the city uses now. The procurement process is how the city maintains and obtains our materials, goods, supplies, equipment, and services that allows the city to function. Until now, there really has been a lack of a comprehensive, formal, written set of policies. The rules were documented in different places. Some were in ordinances, some were in resolutions, some in the municipal code, and they've been passed at various times during the history of the city. Some of our policies were never documented at all, which created inconsistency in the department, a lack of transparency, and a lack of oversight. As you all know, we have a multi-million-dollar annual expenditure budget, and adoption of this joint resolution, I feel, will put all the departments on the same path, including the Housing Authority and the library. We need this really to effectively deliver all services in the community. I believe that this policy will strengthen our internal controls, improve city functions, and improve transparency, and provide staff with a comprehensive, formal set of purchasing procedures. So I'd like to turn it over to Isaiah to go over the key provisions of the policy. Isaiah?
Thank you, Mr. Binder. The policy really breaks down or summarizes purchases into 9 different categories, and those categories range on whether based on dollar amount or the type of purchase. So the first category that is described in the policy is dealing with our petty cash transactions. It limits petty cash transactions to a maximum of $50 or less, and it describes the approval process and the required receipts in that process. The second purchasing category is what we call our minor purchases. These are purchases that do not require a PO. The dollar amount of these purchases is below $2,500. And each department head will submit a list of authorized department purchasers. That list will then be reviewed and approved by the city manager. Once approved, the authorized department purchaser can approve this category of purchases. The next category up is purchase orders, purchases that require a purchase order, and those are for $2,500 or more. And these purchases require quotes and approval of department heads. The next category is minor contracts, and this is the policy requires a contract at the $25,000 mark, but if we voluntarily enter into a contract below $25,000, this just sets the approval levels which can be executed by the city manager. The next threshold that you reach are purchases requiring city council approval. This threshold is at $25,000, so city council will see any purchase at $25,000 or above and require their approval. It also requires a formal proposal process, which we have outlined in the policies on pages 13-13 through 13-15. So really anything above $25,000 has to go out through a formal proposal process. The next purchasing category is professional services. And professional services is a little unique because you don't solely rely on the dollar amount of the proposal received. You take into account the professional qualifications of the firm or provider. And that's all this establishes is any professional service will follow the above thresholds that we just went through as far as approval, but it just says that the awarding of that proposal is not based solely on the dollar amount, but rather the qualifications of that professional firm. The next category is construction contracts, and this construction contracts are exempt from this policy because they follow our municipal code, section 3.34. So any construction contract would still follow that municipal code section. The next category is purchases related to the property improvement program. This program has a separate set of procedures that was formally adopted by City Council, and so it follows that separate action and guidelines that the City Council approved. And the last category is the Special Assistance Funds, the SAF program, and that also is a separate program with separate guidelines that have been approved by City Council, and so those are exempt from this policy as well because they follow the council-approved guidelines. The policy also addresses, other topics and key definitions and items that you tend to run into during the procurement process. It was our attempt to make a comprehensive policy that really addressed really any issue that we could run into with various procurement methods that we go through. Also, as approval of this policy, the City Council will need to repeal Ordinance 2.14, which is an attachment to the staff report. With that, we're available for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion, please?
I would move that the City Council and Board of Directors of the city affiliated agencies approve the attached joint resolution adopting the purchasing procedures policy, and that the City Council approve the attached ordinance repealing Chapter 2.14 purchasing system of the city's municipal code.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 5-0. And just want to compliment Isaiah and your staff. This process, as the city manager said, has been going on for a long time, and we're all certainly glad to put it away, but I think it really updates all of our financial systems and puts more checks and balances in there too. So good job, and we won't have to do this for another month or two, will we?
Yes, you get a break.
Okay. All right, well, that was the end of the regular agenda. So before we recess to close session, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our city attorney, Steve Quintanilla.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, the process has been going on for 10 years. In any event, we're now going to recess into closed session with the Rancho Mirage Housing Authority Board and the City Council to meet with its labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.8 regarding the Rancho Mirage Employees Association. The council will also meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956 to confer with city attorney regarding one potential case and the case known as City of Rancho Mirage versus All Valley Desert Cooperative. And finally, the council is going to meet with its real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding property located at 42520 Bob Hope Drive.
Thank you, Steve, and we're now in recess.